Hi there. So I made a video to help you identify whether your girlfriend might have borderline personality disorder, whether she's just having a bit of a bad day. So there are some common characteristics that we find amongst people with BPD. And whilst having one of these characteristics doesn't mean that you have a personality disorder, we often find that with borderline personality disorder, there are very certain characteristics that are prevalent and dominant, and we see this in relationships. So here are some 5 common traits that you find in relationships with women with borderline personality disorder. Now, this is the core of borderline personality disorder. It's the fear of abandonment, of rejection, and ultimately being alone. Now, this is a fear that all of us have experienced when we're babies, and we rely on our primary caregivers to soothe us and to overcome this fear. But this is a very deep-rooted primal fear, the fear of abandonment. And it would appear with people with borderline personality disorder that as they become an adult, that they still have this fear that when they're left alone, that they're abandoned, and they still feel the terror and anxiety that they would have felt as a child. So how does that impact you in a relationship with someone with borderline personality disorder? Well, it can come across as quite clingy, for one thing. So if you've noticed that your girlfriend just doesn't want to spend time alone, like she always wants to be with you, she wants to come out with you and your friends all the time, or she just likes going out a lot, she likes to go around to other people's houses. When someone doesn't like their own company, that's just a red flag. Something else that's very characteristic of BPD is the intensity of a relationship. Essentially, at the beginning, it can be quite full on with someone with BPD. So if you've noticed that you've been pulled into this relationship that's actually going pretty fast, especially according to other people's standards, and she sees you as this knight in shining armor. Now, that's another warning flag right there, because when someone sees you as this perfect individual who's come to rescue them and be the idealized, the beloved, basically, it puts the other person up on a very high pedestal, and eventually that pedestal is going to fall right out from under your feet and you are going to come crashing down, and what goes up comes so much further down. So you might experience a girlfriend who thinks you're the best thing ever, and she'll make you feel like you're her knight in shining armor has come to rescue her, because ultimately they just want to be loved, and we all do. All of us just want to be loved. But we find with people with borderline personality disorder, as it's a mental health issue in that they find it affects how they relate to themselves and to others. So along with this fear of abandonment, they desperately want this one person who can just make it all right again. So if you feel like you've been put on a bit of a pedestal, don't be aware that you're going to come falling off at some point. It might not happen tomorrow, it might not happen for a month, but 100% you're not going to stay up there. You're no longer going to be the savior, and instead you're going to be the dickhead who gets all the blame for everything. Now, this actually happens in all kind of relationships. It happens in counseling as well. It's projecting our inner gold onto someone. We see, so if I'm a client and I go to see a counselor, and this is a wonderful human being who's given me like the love and attention that my mum never gave me, and such a wise person, and I project all the idealized like mother onto my counselor, and then I realize that over time she can't live up to my fantasy. She's not my fantasy, she's actually human, and she does things that I don't like. And then they can come crashing down again, like, this woman's bullying me, I hate this person. So this is essentially just people projecting stuff onto other people. And as the other person who's holding that projection, you have to realize that, it's not real. So as much as it's amazing to feel like you're the best person ever, just be aware that it might come crashing down anytime soon, and to be prepared for that. Now, this is so characteristic with people with BPD. It seems like you walking on eggshells around someone with a personality disorder, because they can just snap at any minute. They'll have like a reaction to something that just seems really illogical. Now, the thing about mood swings is that just because your girlfriend has mood swings does not mean that she has a personality disorder. You know, it could just be she's had a stressful day. Women's hormones fluctuate a lot more than men's do. But it could also be a sign of something deeper. You see, this is actually very characteristic of people with BPD, their ability to fluctuate in their moods, to react, have a response that's inappropriate to what actually happened. And it feels like sometimes, we're walking on eggshells around someone. We don't know how to respond in case we say something, they fly off the handle. They become unpredictable. So I would say if you pick up on mood swings that happen quite regularly and that she just flies off the handle for things that weren't worth fussing about, it might be wise to take some space to think about whether this is actually her personality or whether this is a situational thing. One thing to look out for in the mood swings with someone with BPD is jealousy. Now, as I said at the beginning, that they just hate being alone. It's a fear of abandonment they've had since childhood. And you going out to spend time with your mates away from her can trigger this feeling of rejection and abandonment. And rather than her actually consciously knowing what's going on, admitting it, instead she'll lash out at you, either with anger, or punishment, and manipulation with her words, or quite simply out of jealousy. And again, all of this is just her own fear of abandonment and rejection. But the way it's coming across, especially with jealousy, it can be very tiresome and frustrating when someone's very jealous of you. And essentially it's a fear that you'd rather spend time with them than with me. You're going to leave me and you're not going to be this amazing man who will never let me down. You can't change your life to suit the needs of someone with a personality disorder, because then you just lose your sense of self and your own boundaries. For sure, there's compromise in every relationship, but just be aware that if you find yourself falling in the traps of always wanting to make her feel better, cutting out your social life so you can spend time with her, and that's not actually going to help her, because you're just maintaining this fantasy that you are all hers, which is what she wants really. She just never wants to be alone. So relationships with someone with BPD usually doesn't last for long, and this is because of the push-pull mechanism that happens in these kind of relationships. So this is quite an ambivalent form of attachment that we see in children. We see avoidance type attachment, where kids just generally avoid interacting with others and with humans. We also see ambivalent type of interaction, which is, love me, but I don't want you, come to me, stay away from me. And we feel this dynamic when we're in a relationship with someone with BPD. It's like especially at the beginning, they can't get enough of us. And the intensity, the rush, the sex, it's all just so amazing and unlike other relationships. And then you realize why, because what goes up is going to come down. Often when she realizes that you're not this perfect person, and that you're human and you have flaws and you can't always be there for her and you can't always attend to her needs, then often they just pull away. And whether it's a form of punishment or whether it's their own fear of I can't trust this person, I need to protect myself, so they create distance. Regardless, it can often mean the end of relationship, where she just suddenly cuts you out. You don't know what happened. You won't hear from her again. So normally it doesn't really end too well. However, the thing about borderline personality disorders, it's that it's not actually best treated with medication. The best treatment for it is psychotherapy and general talking therapy. It's something that someone definitely can improve from, but it's done gradually and for over time. So if you're already in a relationship with someone who you think has borderline personality disorder, it doesn't mean that it has to end. Providing that the woman is willing to seek help and to gain consciousness about her actions and why she is the way she is, you can get healing and help and recovery from talking therapy. So if she is willing to get involved in some therapy, and you don't even need medication, just talking therapy is meant to significantly help people with their symptoms of BPD. And then, things can definitely look up. However, for the most part, people often don't have long-lasting relationships when someone has BPD. So that's it for now. If you want more information about the work that I do and about my coaching services that I provide online, just click on the links below. Bye for now.